Hi, I got some questions if I could teach some wire. I'm not really a teacher, but I can try. So this is this is what it is. I built yesterday a sphere, something like this. And I think let's try this from scratch. It's using normals and mostly normals, and I think normals are very interesting. So let's see if we can build this from scratch. Don't save. So this is my basic setup. I have a video player and a default texture in. This is seen as an effect. So you have to define what type of patch Resolume is seeing. So is it a source, an effect, or a mixer? And usually I build effects. You can use a solid effect and it will act like a source, but you can place it upon a layer or a clip or a composition. So in my view, effects are the most powerful. So let's play the video. And now we're gonna add the UV texture. UV textures are like global positioning for the pixels. So full green is always on top, on the top row, so on the Y value, and black is always on the lowest row in the Y on the Y coordinates. Sorry, my English is not very fluent. And for the X we have red channel, so it's black on the left side and red on the right side. So you can make UV channels with a gradient, with two gradients. If you have a red one, oh, this is the wrong black here and green there. So this is your Y values, and now we have to reverse that. Oh, wrong way around. Oh, no. So this is wrong. This needs to be sorry, I'm getting a bit. I need to slow down a bit. So if we add these together, you see we have the same color gradient as the UV mapping. And the Y is the green and the X coordinates are the red. So if you want to change this, you can use a gradient, and now if you remap this with a UV map, in the top connection there goes the UV mapping, and in the beauty goes the one you want to keep. So this is the default. Oh, wrong one. This is the default mapping, and this is the rounded one with the radial mapping. So now it's the normal one again, the normal mapping. Something to keep in mind, the default UV texture is 16-bit. So if you use gradients like this, they default to 8-bit. And you can see that in the preview here, it's a bit choppy, a bit squarish. The amount of pixels is not right. It seems like it is, but it needs 16 bits, so we're gonna bump this up to 16-bit. Now you see it's smooth again. So that's something to keep in mind with UV mapping. So now let's create a circle. There are multiple ways to do this, but I'm gonna use shapes. And then shapes. We wanna render that. And we're gonna use it as a mask. So we have our UV mapping here, and we're gonna mask that with our shape. And we're gonna transform that. So we're gonna shift it around, or rotating it around. What happened here? 0.1 minus 1. So this one is upside down and rotated. And here we have the cutout from the shape. And we're gonna not mask it, but mask blend it. So we have the original one, the transformed one, and we're gonna use the mask blend to blend them together. And then we're gonna add them to the UV mapping. So here you can see now the inside of the shape is upside down using the UV map. Now the shape render has hidden feature. This anti-aliasing, you can crank that up to like 4000. That maybe is a bit much, but let's lock this a bit. Let me use a bigger radius for the shape. You can see that you can use a very large number here without suffering major penalties on your shape frame rate. So this is too high for now. 0.5 back, and I want to 500 something. Yeah. So this is a nice gradient, and when we go back to the output, you see now that we have a very smooth edge. This is more like the bubble we made before. I showed you before. We can curve this edge. Maybe the other way around. So now you get a nice curve. I like a bit of separation here on the outer edge. Now it's like a fluid curve. I want a more hard edge on the upper side. Let's see if I can, oh, that's the wrong one. Maybe we can do that with map. No. Yesterday I built the patch I showed you used a different way to create a circle. So that way we have a harder edge here on the side. We can also create a hard edge if we use a math value here with greater. Did I do greater? Yeah. I had my preview locked, so you can lock your monitors down here. And now we have a rigid shape, and we can use that to mask and clip everything. So if we use a mask here and use the grader, now we have an outer edge. And if I make this a bit smaller, and now you see we are cropping the circle, and we're using mask to crop it even further. And now we have a hard edge on our sphere. I think the edge is a bit too big. We're losing too much of our sphere, so I'm reducing that number. So we have a very small outer black edge on our shape now. So yesterday on the other patch I used an edge detection, and I think I did it on this one. We can use the strength to make it very prevalent, and we can did I do yesterday? I think I added a blur first. So now everything is very crisp inside this sphere, and usually a sphere is not that perfect, so we want to blur a bit of it. Blurring can be very heavy in Resolume and also in wire. So first we're gonna resize our texture. You can go very low with this. You also have to fill it, otherwise it will scale. And then pixel blur. This is way too big for 4:1. This is good enough. And I'll create a new one with the same UV mapping, a different video. So now you see everything is nice and blurry. But we don't want to blur everything, we only want to blur the edge. And here we have no edge selection yet. So let's create that. Yesterday I did a invert. I'm talking about yesterday because the patch I showed at the beginning, I built that yesterday. And so when you have a alpha everywhere, so the grid here is alpha, that there's no video there. If you want to add video there and you want to add it black, you can use an add node with a 1 in the 4 spots. So the first one is RGB and the third one of the fourth one is alpha. And then if you invert you also invert the alpha. Let's have a look if you can do that differently. Oh, you can also do it like that. This is nice. Why did I want to do that? Oh no, this is not the way I want it. Because I want to crop the white part away, and I can use the grader for that. So I use the mask, the grader as a mask, and then this in there. And now I have the outer edge of my sphere, and I'm gonna use that to mask this one. So there's a lot of masking going around. Mask. So we use this. So now we have the outer edge of the sphere is very blurry. We want to combine these. There are a lot of ways to combine video in wire. Video mixer. This is the most powerful one. Because you have all your blend modes, you have all your opicities, and you can input as many layers if you want. Strange sentence. But it's quite heavy on the loads. You can see here it's one of the more power hungry effects we have now in our composition. So I usually, when I want to only alpha things together, I use a join and a merge. Oh, let's add a video in it to it. And a merge. And this is the cheapest way to join them. This merge is lighter now than the video player I built before. Let's use the video player with some videos. Oh, not video, video. Mixer. If I add this and then that. You look now, you see the video mixer is using 13% and merge is only using 5% of the total composition render times. So that's why I use the merge and not a video player in this instance. Now we combine those two, and I said I added this one yesterday to this, and let's do this over here before we scale everything. And now this one has this nice white edge, and when we're gonna look over here, you see that white edge is added there. Now we use this as our output. So that's this is already looking like a nice sphere. We still want to manipulate it a bit better. So we want to change the scaling and move everything around. The cheapest and quickest way to do that is to add a move node here. So everything before this render node is done on the CPU, so there is no texture here, only in the preview. But on its own, nothing is rendered here, it's only rendered at the shape level. So if you add movement here, is the cheapest place to add it. So we have need a float 2 because this needs 2 channels. Add that, and then we add it here, and this moves in -1, 1 space. So 0 is the center. And with right-clicking a thing, you can export it to output. So this is our scale. So now we can move it. We can scale it. I think we're gonna cap the scale, so it cannot go lower than 0, but I also don't want to go it higher than 1. 1 is the full height in this case. So now we have that movement. I think yesterday I also moved the video inside the bubble, so you can see it move here. This is moving in a different space because this is pixel space. So if we want to use these 1 to -1 values, we have to multiply it, and we have to multiply it with the amount of pixels we are using. So if we use the patch info, we get the resolution here, and we can use it to multiply our video position. And you see now it's moving too fast because it's going outside the screen. And what we can do is add another one and use a 0.5 here. Now we are dividing the position we had by half. So now everything should stay inside. Pause. and you can see it's moving when we move the sphere. So that's quite nice. I think I still like to add some chromatic aberration. Sorry for my pronunciation of that. We can use the offset, color offset for that. And usually I build it like this, from polar. So from polar has two inputs, distance, and an angle. And what I want to do is, I don't like these default offsets, and it's a bit of a complicated way using an array of three, and excluding the max. So now we get a value of 1/3, and we're gonna add that to the from polar. Now we have three coordinates. Oh, when I add it to 1, we have three coordinates around the center. And let's multiply this a bit because the distance is not great enough for my taste. And now we have three coordinates, but we want to split it. So now we have three channels. So we have a R, G, and B. And now we have how do you say it? An even distribution around the center plane. On the edges we have still some, let's put a, yeah. On the edges there's still some strange behavior, and that's because we shifted the textures around, so there's no pixels on the borders. I like clamped there. Now it's stretching the pixels around the corner, and that's a bit more nice. That's a nicer way of resolving that. So now we have some great colors here. Maybe they're a bit too spread it out, and with the max value here we can shift them a bit closer together. If you want to rotate these, you can use the add here and export this one out. So this now becomes your control of the angle of your chromatic aberration. And now we can rotate it around, and the radius is the distance of the chromatic aberration. Yeah, and I think that's the basics of it. Let's play the video again. And this is what it looks with abstract video. So that's quite nice. I hope that you learned something from this, and try to build this yourself. Break this patch we made, and find out what the limits are of everything, and have fun.